No one can beat me but me. Aomine Daiki's most quoted phrase, for very good reasons. Not only is it effortlessly cool, but also psychologically devastating, because it is true.
Emotional damage.
As a gifted kid myself, I relate to Aomine so much. He's feeling isolated from his peers because of the gap in skills and attitudes, and his increasing lack of drive for basketball, which is something that he loves above everything else. Being held as the best comes with invisible struggles, ones that Aomine's storylines illustrates really well. You don't need to have watched the show or know about basketball. This goes so much deeper than that. This video is the first in my Gifted Kids series, where I explore anime characters, what they reveal about precocious individuals, their struggles with isolation, expectation, guilt, depression, and motivation. Aomine discovered basketball as a kid, and he would play with whoever was around on basketball courts. So he ended up playing with much older kids or even adults, which is, I think, a very big contributor to how good and skilled he was, but also to one of the very defining traits of his personality, which is the fact that Aomine enjoys a challenge. He thrives in challenging himself. Very important to make note of from the get-go. The story officially truly starts for Aomine when he gets into middle school. When Aomine applies to join the basketball club, he, as well as other first years, get into the first string. That was unheard of in the school. Getting into the basketball team was so competitive. There were like 3 strings, and no first year fresh off elementary school was ever able to get in like from the start, and there are 4 of them. That's really interesting. What's also interesting is the school's motto, which is 100 battles, 100 wins. It does speak a lot about the culture just from that motto alone. During that first year of middle school, Aomine becomes better and better at basketball. He is able to challenge and play against other players. And so far, it is not really anything exceptional. It makes sense. He's playing in a team. He's playing against other teams. So, of course, he becomes better and better over time. I'm Bamboo, a trained hypnotherapist who also really enjoys animes, amongst other things. On this channel, I do character analysis, I talk psychology, personal development, mental health. I also conduct experiments to find systems that best work for me so that I can become the best version of myself that I can be. Hopefully, helping you guys out get there too, or inspiring you to do the same. If this is something that you are interested in, do consider subscribing to follow along, and also liking this video because it really helps out with YouTube. What is one of the really important moments of that first year, however, is him meeting another basketball player his age who did not make the first string, who is in the third string. One evening, whilst Aomine was still at school, he notices that the gym's lights are still on. And so he goes there wondering who might be playing basketball at this time because it's quite late. And he ends up meeting Kuroko Tetsuya. Now this guy is someone who has been playing and practicing by himself to get better because he wants to get into the first string. And skill-wise, he's not good. But when it comes to attitude, he is someone that is worth respecting. Aomine ends up becoming best friend with Kuroko because of his work ethic. And he's like, I like your attitude. I like the fact that you are giving your all to basketball so much. I respect you. And they start playing together. Meanwhile, Kuroko does not really get much better, which is strange by itself, but I won't speak to what ends up happening with the plot. And at some point, one of the teachers says to Kuroko, well, I'm not telling you to quit, but your chances of getting any further are non-existent. Honestly, you don't even have what it takes to be in the third string. Which, why would you even say this to a kid if you're telling them not to quit? You know, but you will see that the teachers and coaches in this series are either great or terrible. So Kuroko, obviously affected by what this adult said, goes to Aomine and he's like, I am thinking of quitting basketball. And in that moment, Aomine says this, I can't guarantee you that if you keep practicing, if you keep going at it, you will get results. But I can guarantee you that if you quit now, you're not getting anything. You're not achieving anything. Something along those lines. This is something that was really important for Kuroko to hear. Something that also glued in their friendship so much more. Kuroko ends up figuring out a way to specialize his skills in a way that would allow him to get to first string. I won't go into the process of how that happened. And so now the two best friends are playing together. Kuroko being a passing specialist. All is well at this point in time. However, Aomine keeps improving. And he improves at such a rapid rate that it starts becoming incredibly obvious that he is so much more skilled than everybody else. Next year happens and Aomine starts really feeling that gap. He, whether consciously or not, stops giving his all because he realizes that even like half of his strengths or half of him going all in is already something that other people, other teams struggle with. He starts playing not so well. Two people noticed. One of them was the captain of the basketball team. Also someone Aomine's age, one of the four who got into first string as a first year. So the captain, Akashi, is looking at the stats and is like, wait, Aomine only scored that many points? That's not good. Because obviously it means he's downplaying his skills. He's not playing seriously. And so the captain ends up saying like, we are going to install a quota where you need to at least score that many points. And he's saying this at the lunch table where the other players are also seated, by the way. It's like, frankly, I know that you're going through a rough spot. And so you feel unmotivated. But as the top scorer of our team, if you are unmotivated, it affects the morale of the team. And so I'm assigning you a quota so that you do at least this much. Basically what he was doing was, I am going to keep pushing you even if the other teams can't keep up. This is for our team, this is even for you. Just because the others can't keep up does not mean that you need to lower yourself to their level. The other person who also had a really big impact was the head coach, who talked with Aomine when he was starting to skip practice and not give his all. The head coach said, it is my fault that we pushed you so much to reveal your talent. I knew this likely was going to be a problem for you because no one would be able to keep up with you. And I am sorry for that. However, do not give up. I can't assure you that what you're looking for is going to happen if you keep practicing, keep showing up, keep doing your best. but I can tell you that you're never gonna get anywhere or get what you want if you give up now. If you remember, that's more or less what Aomine said to Kuroko when Kuroko said he wanted to quit. These words were so important, and they made Aomine stay and do his best again up until the last match of his second year of middle school, where he plays against a guy who last year did put up a challenge and was really good and talented. But what ends up happening is that during this game, where Aomine for once is giving his all after his tremendous growth and him purposefully, not pushing it because his opponents are struggling to keep up. This is the first time he's being serious, and the team they're playing gives up. Like, they are just NPCs in the match. They just give up. They don't even play anymore. And this was horrible for Aomine, because it was like, this is what I get if I give even a little bit of my all. Everyone else gives up. That feeling is horrible. I've experienced it, by the way, which is why I'm saying this. It is portrayed really well in the show that you would understand it even without having felt it before, but it is soul crushing. And this is when the last thread that kept Aomine from slumbering down into depression snapped. This moment, paired with the fact that the head coach, who was ill, was replaced by another guy. This other guy now says you don't have to practice anymore, because what's most important is just being at the game and winning the game. So as long as you were there, it's okay. Which goes against everything else that initially his captain Akashi said. I'm not going to go into deeply about about his captain, but his captain attitude also shifted, where he's now like, well, as long as we win, I don't even care. With his captain changing attitudes, with the head coach gone and the replacement being frankly horrible, and the fact that Aomine's one opponent that he thought he could place best against just completely gave up, this destroyed Aomine completely. And it also destroyed his relationship with Kuroko, his best friend, who at this point in their last year of middle school was the only one who was really trying to get Aomine to play. And he was the one who told Aomine, if I were your opponent, I don't care how good you are and how comparatively weak I am, I want you to play your best, because that is sportsmanship, basically. Even though Kuroko said that, the fact that the opponents did the opposite, this crushed him. It crushed his relationship with Kuroko, and he even said, he was nearly crying at this point, I don't even know how to receive your passes anymore. Remember, Kuroko is a passing specialist, which just shows how little they've been playing together, because Aomine by himself would be just enough to trounce everybody. So this is where middle school ends with. Aomine being super depressed, not practicing basketball. Now, after that, Aomine goes to high school, and he is being recruited by Toho Gakuen, Toho Academy, I think, but it's a high school. The coach and the captain came to recruit Aomine. And one of the things that the captain said was, and he said this to Aomine's face, by the way, which is the reason why Aomine ended up joining. The captain was like, you're too soft. And Aomine was like, what? Fine, I'll go to your school. It was kind of like his reaction. But then we get to hear the captain, Tsunayoshi, if I'm not wrong, and his explanation for what he said. Aomine is too kind and compassionate, which is why he's even not giving his best and why he's depressed in the first place, because he seeks connection. he seeks challenge, he seeks improvement, and because he cares about other people, he can't bear to be the one who crushes their love for the game that he loves as well. And because he's so compassionate, that's the reason why he never gives his all. Well, partly. And it is a very correct analysis of Aomine's characters that most people would not really clock just because of his aura. The fact that he appears to be very arrogant. Which kind of brings us into the next point. Him behaving a bit like an asshole sometimes and being very arrogant is just a front. Because this is masking just how sad, disappointed, depressed he feels. And the void that not having basketball in his life left him with. The Aomine that in the show we initially meet is a bit of a husk of a person in the sense that he doesn't care about anything. He isn't like motivated. He is just showing up, I'm good, whatever, and here we go. And he shows up late to games, he doesn't go to practice, and his attitude can rub off the wrong way, and it actually does with some of his teammates. But what this truly is just a manifestation of how depressed he is and how much he cared about the game. He still cares about the game, but he lost the passion, the motivation, the drive because of just how much more talented he was than the other people he played against. Whilst, again, he may appear to be a bit of an asshole sometimes, the real sad element to his story was that, and he even said it once, I mean, if you're so upset about it, just beat me, score more than me, do better than me. The guy showing up to only 10 minutes of a game scores so much more than like anyone else on the team by themselves. So when he says, if you want to say anything, just beat me, it is sound logic. And him saying no one can beat me but me is true. At this point in time, when Aomine starts high school, no one can beat him. He is unbeatable. He is the strongest. But it's not the strongest in a good way. It's just sad that he is. As we talked about in the very beginning, basketball and challenge oneself is intricately linked when it comes to Aomine and why he even loves the game so much. So the fact that he was the best, like without contest, the best player, it just left a sour taste in his mouth because he wants to keep being the best. But if there is no one else to challenge him, why else would he just dig this gap even further? It's a really sad situation he is in. You would probably ask, well, if he's the best player, how does he overcome this? Because you just said technically he's the best player, no one can beat him. And that is true. No one by themselves could beat him. But remember Kuroko, his bestie in middle school? Well, after middle school, Kuroko went to another school, and there he met another player who has the potential to be on Aomine's caliber. He is not, by the way, not yet, but he does have the potential. And by working with this player and their team play, compounded with the fact that Aomine hasn't been practicing and isn't at his best, they were able to win against Aomine. It took them 2 separate times to do this, but they managed it. Through that game, Aomine was given a reason to play again. He was given a reason to practice, to show up, to do his best, because now he knew that there was Kuroko and the other player, Kagami, there to challenge him. They might not be as skilled individually, but they would be there to challenge him, and they would not ever be okay with him taking it easy on them. That's the beauty of it all. Aomine was able to exit this spiral of darkness by finding connection, regaining connection in this regard, and finding a way to challenge himself again. Even though the truth of him being technically individually the most skilled didn't change. But now, even though one player could not be a direct challenge to him, a very good skilled team very much is. And so playing against people who might not be as skilled as you, but are very much there for the challenge, for the growth, for the game, that is what was able to get him out and start to enjoy and play basketball again. Now, you might be wondering, why are we talking about this? Well, we already established the fact that this type of story, if you take out the context of it's in an anime or it's about a basketball player, you can very much apply it to another context, another situation, and it is very much an experience that precocious children go through, and one I went through myself. Now, I was never like good at basketball. I wasn't like good at like sports in general, but I gave my all to everything. At least at the beginning I did, especially when I was in middle school. And for example, not very good at sports, but I would do my best, which is why my peers that were really into sports, my peers, only one classmate actually came to respect me for it, because honestly I was mediocre, but I was doing my best. Also why my teachers liked me so much, I was doing my best. However, even though sports wasn't my thing, academics very much were, and so I would just do my best to ace my exams. I would do any bonus assignment, like I would do anything to needle up my average, my grades, my marks, even though I didn't need to. Like, I was already ranked first in my class, probably ranked first in my grade as well, but I would still do this, and this was just like inherently me. I just liked giving my all and doing my best. But much like Aomine, at some point, the more you do your best and the more you improve, the more the gap that already existed with you and the others as a precocious child widens, and it widens dramatically. I know exactly the moment where, much like Aomine, my attitudes towards giving my best completely stopped. And this was when I actually did an IQ test, because, you know, one of my parents' acquaintances was like, well, maybe your kid is precocious. And they were like, what is a precocious child? And so it turns out, well, technically you needed to get like 130. I got 127 in the IQ test I did when I was in 8th grade. But I mean, close enough, right? The reason why this was a moment where I stopped trying was because so far I had convinced myself that the reason why I got the results I did in school, why I was so good, why actually other kids usually hated my guts because I was so good, was because I worked hard. I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. I'm a hard worker. You know, it's not just like talent. I actually do my best. I try. That's why I do well. And then when it turns out I am inherently different from, you know, an IQ standpoint, well, this shattered my whole identity, where I was like, I'm a hard worker, which is why I get good results. And then I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna stop trying and see how I do. And I did the exact same. Like, I would just ace everything the same way. And this is when I stopped doing my best and pulling my all into things, which, by the way, it took me years to be able to recover this. And to this day, it's still something that I struggle with. This very much is like the same experience that Aomine had. I even have another kind of like similar to Aomine, where the players just like started being NPCs and stopped playing. I had this exact same experience in middle school, it was basically, there was contest, an English contest. I'm French, by the way, if you didn't know. There was like an English contest in France called Big Challenge. And so I, of course, participated since 6th grade till 9th grade, all 4 years. The first year, for 6th graders, there were over 60 participants. I ranked first. The second year, there were maybe 8. I ranked first again. The third year, there were 5. I ranked first again. And the last year, there were 3. The other 2 being my friends, by the way. And I ranked first again. I'm not going to talk about like national placement or like regional rankings, but I did pretty well there too. What's really important is that I did well, like really well. I ranked first in my school. And one time, whilst I was looking at the date for like admissions, I overheard my peers. I think I was in 8th grade at this point, or like 7th grade, 7th or 8th grade. And I overheard some of my peers being like, oh no, we're not joining if she's participating. Which explained why there was like no attendance apart from my friends or people I were friendly with. They just would not even try and participate because I would. That was like really isolating when you realize people are not doing something because you are. Or, I mean, same thing happened when you had to like pick teams in like sports. I had to be like crossing my fingers that one of my friends or the people I'm friendly with are going to be team captain. Otherwise, it's like I'm one of the last 2 or 3 that gets picked. And it's not because I'm not very good at sports, by the way. Because at least I would do my best. So I was like not the worst options, but I would be one of the last to be picked. And that feeling is horrible. It is god-awful. And because of those experiences, I chose to talk about Aomine first, because when I started doing inner work, self-development, and the reason why I went to therapy the first time around was because I realized that, I mean, I was depressed, actually, again, same situation as Aomine. And so I was like, oh, you know what, I need to do therapy. And I did. Even without that, I have this theory, which is related to like shadow work, which is that when you look at the characters that you enjoy in a book, a show, whatever it is, a story, try and think about why you like that character. My theory is that there are 2 reasons. You either are this character in some shape or form, meaning you emphasize or have experienced something similar or share a trait, whether good or bad. Or it can be, I aspire to be like this character. They have a trait, they have something that I want to become. And so in my case, Aomine Daiki is one of the characters that I, on paper, have no business feeling so strongly for. But in reality, he is one of the characters I relate with the most because of the similar experiences we've gone through and the way it has shaped our lives. Now, a little task for you. First of all, if you're still around here, I would ask you to like this video. It really helps. And also, in the comments, tell me which character from whichever show story do you relate to the most. Once you have, check out this video right here that I think you're gonna like if you have enjoyed watching this one.